Уважаемый господин президент Российской Федерации Владимир Владимирович Путин, уважаемый господин
Putin,
the respectful Mr. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, we are here to discuss questions, very important questions. And what's left is we would like to give each one 1 minute in order to complete their talk. Mrs. Alama, I requested that you would tell me about the mechanism that we can have between Africa and Russia.
let me join my colleagues in thanking His Excellency President Vladimir Putin, the President of the Russian Federation, and all the African leaders gathered here for the strong support and vision they've shown to this forum. It's a very important forum, which will help Africa to find new partners because the problems are many, and Africa needs many partners to be able to begin to solve the problems. With regard to financing, with the current levels of trade going on between Russia and Africa at about $20 billion, we think there is adequate financing. Today, the transactions we've done with Russia Export Center and those on the pipeline amount to about $5 billion. We are committed to doing those transactions. The important thing is how to grow the business. Since Afreximbank started engaging with Russia and Russia Export Center, in the past 4 years, trade between Russia and Africa has doubled. With the chairman of the Russia Export Center, Mr. Slepner, my friend, we've decided that we should push to double it again in the next 3 years. But to do that, we have to do more. And one thing is to deal with the risks. Dealing with the risks is to make sure that information is available. So we've agreed that we'll create trade information portals for Africa and for Russia and link them up so that businesses will know what is going on. We've also agreed that we will look at putting together a big guarantee facility because risk is information. If you don't know anything, it is risky to you. So we, the policy banks, can provide the guarantees to make sure companies...
Господин Арама, извините, пожалуйста.
Thank you.
Спасибо большое. И еще один вопрос к Андрею Костину. Мы говорили о том, что Африка заинтересована не в развитии.
I hope Andrei Kostin can talk about the fact that Africa gives very much importance to investment inside Africa and not in relation to trade dealings with it. We work with many African countries in relation to monetary topics related to Russia. The first question is the Russian bank, and especially VTB, that does all paper dealings between trade dealings between Russia and Africa, and we have reached in this dealing to become very near to African countries. We invest in many projects in different countries in Africa, and we invest in other African countries in the infrastructure, and in particular electric energy and nuclear energy and fishery and agriculture and educational programs and healthcare programs. There is another point I would like to clarify, which is our bank invests and will do many investments in order to maintain international cooperation and changing dealings from dollar to local currencies in some countries, and there are some points in relation to the infrastructure. For example, that our policy in Kazakhstan, in other countries that are related to Russia, are joined in the same problems in Africa, and we have great experience in dealing with this. I would like that Mr. Andre would tell us about some information in respect to the cooperation between Russia and Africa. Today we open a new area and field related to €5 million that would allow for trade cooperation between us and African countries, and to those who are concerned, I would like, please ask your questions. And since Mr. President Putin is here today, I give the floor to him. Mr. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, presidents of countries, ladies and gentlemen, close friends, I welcome you warmly on the occasion of opening the Russia-Africa Forum. There have been no equal to this very important event in the history of African-Russian relations, represented by government institutions and experts from every country to discuss the current situation and the horizons of discussing trade and other economic topics. Today, African countries are on their steady way towards social and economic and scientific and technological development, and it plays an important role in international affairs. And we should establish comprehensive cooperation with the African Union. And we did a very big preparation to specifying the directions in the mutual cooperation. African-Russian relations have registered, and it's very friendly and very trusted. It's of its very trusted nature. It registered an improvement in the previous years with African countries. On the bilateral level, in different forms. And it was possible not only preserving the fruitful cooperation, the accumulating cooperation, but also achieving great and new successes. And this is owing to the fact that Africa have become one of the most promising areas for international economic development. The amount of channeling investments and trade at great level, and mutual projects are underway in the field of industry with the rate of more than $20 million. I think the minister said that this is a good amount. However, I think it's a very small sum. There are very good partners in Africa. This is a very small value of money. We develop mutual projects in relation to excavation, industry, and agriculture. Russia is one of the 10 first importers from Africa. We export more than what we export of arms. We export more agricultural products than arms. And this all reflects and tells us that in the next 5 years we should double this trade dealings between our countries. Russian companies are ready to provide African partners with what it has of scientific and technological achievements. We support the role of economic private committees, and tomorrow many agreements will be held between Russia and African countries. And I insist that through this forum, directions will be specified and fixed about new cooperation forms and propositions of new mutual initiatives, very promising initiatives that will lift the current cooperation between Russia and Africa. There is an institution that we have established through commerce chambers that would help investment in these countries, and there are many companies that work between Russia and Africa. Of course, these plans we will support and expose with companies such as Rosneft and Lukoil and Iros, which is searching for diamond in Africa. And we help with lifting technology in Africa and building more than one plant in Africa to generate energy, especially the project that we are executing in Egypt, in particular the Russian companies that can work in the industrial zone that we are establishing in cooperation with Egypt. Now there are 23 companies, but I'm sure that in the future there will be more and bigger companies. Today we cooperate in the International Food Program. Our country undergoes and plans many countries in Africa. We pay debts of more than $20 million to African countries. Thank you. In some countries, we did many projects on the long term, which involve many investments, especially with respect to healthcare. For example, there is a lab for studying chronic diseases and inhabitant diseases. Our country is one of the first countries that combated the Ebola disease, and we could come up with a treatment that is better than any other treatment around the world. We built more than 100 scientific institutions, and we have many fields in Africa where 17,000 students receives education on the funding of the African country. In this forum, there are many topics and many different topics. I wish that we can create a specific list of the projects that we can establish with our partners, with the Ministry of Economy, the Russian Ministry of Economy. And with this ministry, we opened and treated many issues related to cooperation between Africa and Russia in excavating resources and healthcare development and establishing companies and joint institutions. And I hope in this forum will contribute to developing economic development with African countries. I wish you all the best of success, and I thank you for honoring us with your presence here in Russia. Thank you very much. I would like to give the floor now to our kind guest, the President of the Republic of Egypt, President El-Fattah El-Sisi. In the name of God, the most merciful and compassionate, Mr. President Vladimir Putin, the President of the Russian Federation, Your Excellencies, Your Highnesses, leaders of governments, ladies and gentlemen, I would like first to express my special respect to President Putin and the Russian Federation, the people of the Russian Federation, for their great hospitality and their giving importance to boosting cooperation between Africa and Russia. Through launching this forum, this allows for opportunities, trade opportunities between our country and other countries to push forward the journey of economic developments according to the vision of 2063, and contributes to opening new horizons in cooperation according to the principle of national ownership and methodology of African partnership that have always proven its positive outcome. The aspirations of our countries should push us forward to achieve their hopes and their legitimate hopes of stability and economic development, and it also makes it necessary for us to learn from previous experiences, and makes us able to be willful and to achieve success, which this also participates in boosting the capabilities of our countries and the priorities of our countries. Our content was keen on putting the infrastructure issues at the priority of the mutual African work, and we decided to invest in the human capital when we've given it due importance, being one of the most important factors in development, and especially that the youth of our country are younger than the age of 25, exceed 5% of its population, which, as well as our efforts to capacitating the women in our country. We are in a stage that witnesses many positive changes and fields of industry is developing according to ambitious plans that aim at achieving the aspirations of our country. And I would like to assert in our gathering today that we have went a long way in our economic reformations and achieved a lot to achieve the economic integration on the regional and continental level, and especially entering the African plan entering into effect in July 2019, which makes the continent a destination for partners in the international development. And in this framework, Africa cooperates with its African partners in relation to delivering expertise and developing infrastructure and setting the rules of digital economy. I also renew my invitation to the international funding institutions and cooperation in Africa. This is the most suitable time for openness to the countries of the continent. I also ask the institutions to provide the financial guarantees to build the capabilities of the continent, to improve the trade and other which achieves for the people in our country to follow the development and progress and sustainable development in the continent. And I assert that the cooperation with African countries should depend on mutual principles that targets developing sustainably through partnerships and improving the environment of businesses and partnership with the private sector and achieving social justice and social partnership and boosting stability and the sustainable development goals in 2030. And eventually, I would like to assert my aspiration that Egypt in this forum seeks more cooperation between Africa and the Russian side in all fields. Peace be upon you. Thank you very much, Mr. President. After the address by both presidents, President Putin and President El-Sisi, there are many mutual problems. We have ideas with many mutual projects, and the most important thing that President Putin and President Sisi has said is that the most important thing in the world is the human being and his aspirations and his decent livelihood. I think that if we unify our efforts between Russia and Africa, this will be a good motive to establish a decent life for human beings. I now give the Economy Minister, Maxima Lishna, the floor to tell us about what are the projects that he can propose to African countries. Thank you very much.